Hi, welcome to part 2 of my BBC Model B restore. We finished off in the last episode where I switched it on and we had the language prompt. So we're going to look at that and then we're going to fix the keyboard and give it a clean and a scrub. Unfortunately, I had lots of audio problems. We lost some footage, so I've had to be a bit creative. And also there's quite a few parts where there is 3D printer noise in the background. Quite often the printers are just running all day and I needed to get on with some of the restore and had no choice to do that. Let's get on with it. So unfortunately I lost the audio on this part of the repair, so here is a crappy reenactment. Hey, you there, Lee. That's a nice BBC Micro. Why aren't you using it? Does it not work properly? Ah, I see. Let's see if we can fix it together. Have you tried switching it on? Language. Do you know why it says language? Have you looked anything up on the internet? Let's do that together. Ah, you're back. Did you find the service guide? And did the service guide tell you what to look for when you get language ? Great. Was it to look at jumper S21 and make sure that it's there? And is it there? Ah, so that means that's not the problem. So what else could be the problem? Have you looked at the actual ROMs and make sure that the OS-ROM is in the right place and that it is an OS-ROM? And that the basic ROM is in the right place and that it is a basic ROM? I found a picture of an issue 4 motherboard. Let's take a look at that and compare it to ours to make sure that everything looks the same. Can you see that? The jumpers are different. So even though we've checked and we have a jumper at S21, the board in the picture is actually different and there are 2 jumpers at S21. Let's copy that and see what happens. Well, would you look at that? Now that we've put 2 jumpers at S21 and copied the revision 4 picture that we found, our BBC is now booting correctly. Isn't that fantastic? Well, anyway, that's enough of this tomfoolery. Let's get on with the rest of the repair. Unfortunately, I don't have the audio for this part either, but it's quite straightforward. So you can see there that I'm counting down through the keys so that I can find the spots on the back, and I'm going to mark them with the pen. This shows me which 2 keys that I want to remove. So I'm just going to put some flux on the solder. Now we'll put some fresh solder on the pads just to loosen everything up. The solder has got a bit of flux in as well, and then the flux that I put on just make the solder flow nice and reduce the risk of lifting pads. And now I'm using some desolder braid just to pull the solder off the pads. Just one down, one to go. And now we've removed most of the solder, I'm just nudging the legs to free them up from the sides of the pads to make it easier to pull the key switches out from the other side. So it's just touching the legs, getting a bit of solder flowing, and then you'll feel them like a pop, and the leg will then move freely within the hole. And here I've got 2 sets of tweezers and I'm clipping it on the little clips on either side of the keys. And then if you remove the solder, they will just lift out from the top. So I'm just comparing the 2 keys, the new key and the old key there. And we're just going to pop the second one out. That one came out easy. And now we're going to put the new replacement keys in. And you just push them back in. Make sure that you've got them the right way so that the legs go into the holes. Which is what I'm doing just there. I actually did one later on where I wasn't too careful and I bent the legs underneath the key. So it's something that you need to watch out for. And now we're just going to put new solder onto those pads. And here I'm going to use the PCB cleaning solution that you've seen me use before. Just get rid of all that flux that we put on. I did put quite a lot on. And now we're going to clean that solution up with IPA. I'm using anti-static brushes as well. They're not expensive to buy. And there we go, that's the two keys replaced that had the broken stems. And here I'm putting on the keycaps that I brought. Just push them down, it's easy as that. So that's the first part of the keyboard work. Now we need to actually put it back into the BBC and do the testing. So we're just going to skip forward on this. Now that we have it booting, I tested the keys, and after replacing the P and the at, I found that quite a few keys were not working very well. They were taking a lot of presses before they would respond. And the caps lock didn't work at all. So what we're going to do next is we're going to remove the keys that are having trouble with, and then we're going to use some deoxit to clean that up. And if that doesn't work, I've got some spare keys on order, and we'll replace the keys that I'm not entirely happy with. So I've been working through these keys, and I was having problems with the arrow keys and a couple of these, so I've pulled them all out and I've just got them in some deoxit. I'm just going to let them soak for a bit, and then we'll put them all back in. I've had these soaking in deoxit, and I've also just given a blast with switch cleaner, and I think they're better. The Vichy multimeter is not great for continuity. You can see it's kind of not always beeping, but compared to how they were before, where I couldn't get them to do anything at all, see, that one's not very good. It's definitely the worst one of the lot. So I think those 4 are okay. So I don't like these 2. So I think I'm going to put those 4 back in, and I think I'm going to wait for the other 2 that I ordered to come in and replace those 2, because I'm just not happy with those 2. So I have just removed F9 and F8, which are working okay. So I'm going to put those onto the arrow keys for the moment, and then when my replacement switches come in, I'll put those back in on the function keys. But it just means that I can carry on doing more testing on the Beeb now that I've got all of the important keys working. So that's all the keys back in, apart from those 2 function keys. So now I just need to connect it back up, give it a quick test. Again, sorry about the printing noise. I've basically always got them running. So keyboard is connected back up. So those 4 keys are working really nicely now. Okay, my down arrow key isn't working. So it's possible that I've done something, because keys that were working before are now not working. I think there was maybe a link underneath which could have come loose or something. So as I thought, there's a problem going across those 2 tracks. So I've just put a mod wire on there. So let's see what that does. Yeah, so that's now got those keys working again. When I was taking the keys off, and then maybe I've desoldered 1 more than I needed to, and the mod underneath the key has just popped out. When we take all the keys off, I should probably put in a little bit of deoxit on the top of each key and let it soak. I was more worried about, do I need to replace the keys that were just not working at all. So that's good. If we do star deboot 0, we can see that the MMC is working, and now I can scroll through. And the keys are working normally now. Sound seems to be working okay. Graphics seem to be okay as well. I don't know what the keys are. So, you can see that I'm making progress. That's pretty good, I'm quite happy. We've got 2 keys left to replace when they come in, and then a bit more cleaning on all of the keys underneath once I'm happy that everything else is working. I'm not sure what to do with this. So this one's been modded with this edge connector on the side, and I have a ZIF socket, but the pin spacing is quite different. So unless I need to make some kind of adapter or get a certain type of socket to match up with the pins on the bottom. So another thing to look at. So a few days have passed since I last looked at the keyboard, and 3 more key switches have come in. So after moving the F8 and F9 to the cursor keys, I've replaced those, and I've also replaced the caps lock. So all the keys are working fairly well now. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the keys off. I'm going to ultrasonic clean all the keys, and then we'll clean underneath the keyboard. So it's just lots of that. We'll come back in a little bit. So I'm just down to the last few keys. Pulling keys off the keyboard is such a pain in the backside. So that's all those off. Now, I still have a problem with the space bar. I don't know if it should have springs in. They're supposed to clip into there, I believe, but it doesn't press properly when it's on. So our keys, which are going in the ultrasonic cleaner. So I'm just going to use a brush. And I have a pipette, and I'm just going to put some deoxit into the gaps on the top of each key. And now I'm just going to clean up. Okay, so that's a lot cleaner on that part now. So next we've got to look at cleaning the keys, the keycaps. Alright, I've got my ultrasonic cleaner out. It's just got normal water in. I already heated the water up in my kettle and let it cool down. So at the moment it's like just below 50 degrees. I don't want to go any higher than that. I have some generic household cleaner sort of stuff for bathrooms, for getting rid of grime and grease and things like that. And yeah, I'm just going to put the keys in. Okay, so that's all the keys in, and then I'm just going to clean them for like 15 minutes, and then we'll take them out and wipe them off and let them dry. Alright, so it's been 15 minutes, and I'm just going to take them out and put them over the top of this in the basket so that the liquid can drip down. I'm going to turn it off first. So I'm going to let them cool down and then rinse them off to get rid of the soap suds and stuff. I just rinsed them off and gave them a good shake. Now I'm just going to put this down. Just wipe them down and dry them off. It's the next day. The keys have been drying overnight. So now we're just going to pop them back on the keyboard, which was also cleaned. So I'll save you waiting for me to put these back on, and we'll come back in a moment when the keys are back on, and we'll quickly do another keyboard test to see how it's working now that I did the deoxit in all of the keys. If you can see, the P and the R, which are the two keys that I brought to replace the ones that were missing, are slightly yellowed, so I need to sort those out. And the function keys still look a little bit dirty in some places, so they'll probably need like a long soak in something. But overall it looks nice and clean, and we know that it's clean underneath now as well. So let's just quickly switch it on and just give it a quick test. So caps lock was one of the keys I was having trouble with. That seems to be okay. The delete key is loads better now as well. Okay, so the question mark / key was a bit slow to respond. Seems okay now. So that's pretty good. All of the keys are working reasonably well. And we've cleaned underneath there. I think as far as keyboard working okay, the computer seems to be working okay. The games that I've been running seem fine. So I think the last part is just going to be the case and getting the case looking nice and tidy. Let's get on with taking this apart, and we're going to just remove the screws, remove the piece for the power lead, and then pop the board out. It's really difficult to get the board out because the RF socket gets in the way. Now we're going to take the power supply out. This is the old power lead before I've replaced it, so I'm happy to cut that off and then I can reuse the lead. I'm taking the old feet off because we've got new feet to put on. And then just having a quick inspection. Now we have some warm soapy water with some cleaner, and I'm just going to get rid of the dust and the dirt and then give it a good scrub and a wipe down. There's a little bit of yellowing on one corner, so that might need retro whiting when I get set up the next time. Now I'm going to rinse off all of the detergent with some clean water, and I actually let this hang up overnight and it drips into the tray. Now I'm just going to repeat the same thing with the top section, so get rid of all the particles, give it a good scrub and clean with the detergent in the warm water. Rinse it off with some clean water, get rid of all the soapy suds, and leave that to dry with the bottom part. So now it's the next day and we're just going to start to put this back together. So I used some IPA to clean the old feet and then put the new feet on there. Put the board back in. So quickly dry off all of the liquid that might be left in the pegs for the screws. Put the board back in and put the screws in. Here we have the power supply, which has got the new mains lead on there with the proper type of grommet, and we're just screwing that back in. Putting the power connectors back on, minus 5 volt, 5 volt, 5 volt, 5 volt, and our nice clean keyboard. Just a quick one more scrub on the plexi part. There's a few little marks on there. So that was my BBC Mono B restore. Turned out pretty good. There's still a few little things that I'd like to look at, and you might have saw the disk drive a few times in the videos. It was working. I was going to show the cleaning of that, but I've since found a few issues, so I want to finish that off and I'll make that one into a separate video. So thank you for watching this BBC restore video. It turned out really nice. I think I was very lucky with the faults that I had, and it could have been a lot worse. I think the next retro repair won't be an actual repair. I'm going to build a Harlequin Spectrum 128 kit, and it will be more of a in a way of a live stream. So just the whole thing, very little cutting, really long. And thank you for watching my other videos, and I'll see you again soon.